Welcome to the Follow-Ups Cold Email Masterclass. My name is Nick, and today I'm excited to walk you through the entire process of setting up your own cold email campaigns so you can start booking calls and closing new clients on autopilot. In this video, we'll cover the basics of cold emailing and the softwares you'll need, how to set up multiple domains so you can send hundreds or thousands of emails without landing in spam, how to find the email addresses to send your emails to, the basics of writing a cold email, and also managing your cold email campaigns once they've launched. It's important that you watch the entire video all the way through so you make sure that you don't skip a step and that you have all the information you need. But at the bottom of this video, I'll include the chapters so that you can skip ahead or go back when you're actually setting up your own cold email campaigns. And if you're watching this, it likely means that you're a subscriber or supporter of the follow-up newsletter. So I just wanted to say I'm genuinely thankful to have you here and have your support. The newsletter would be nothing without you, and we're so grateful for each and every one of you. And one last thing before we begin, setting up and managing effective cold email campaigns takes a lot of time, practice, and tinkering. If you'd like to shortcut the entire process and have everything set up and managed professionally for you, we actually offer a done-for-you service where we manage your entire outbound strategy. This includes your sales strategy, your cold email campaigns, as well as your own cold callers for less than $10 an hour. Because cold email is awesome, but nothing ever, I don't care what anyone says, is going to replace the cold call. And I'll actually pop up some of the messages from our clients right now where you can see they're booking new demos, new calls, and closing new clients all the time. If you want to learn more about this done-for-you outbound sales team, you can message me at nick@jointhefollowup.com or respond to one of the newsletters, and I'd love to set up a time and show you exactly what we can do for your business. And now let's get into the full tutorial. Now, the basics of cold emailing and the software tools that you'll need. Cold emailing is one of the most effective and scalable ways to book more calls and increase your sales because you're actually able to directly communicate with your ideal customers at scale, but only if it's done correctly. Google and Yahoo recently released their new spam guidelines, which basically states that they're going to block email addresses that are known for spamming and sending mass emails. Now, the rate that they put out is 0.03%, which basically means that if you send 1,000 emails and 3 of those get reported as spam, you'll be marked as a spammer with a high abuse rate, and they're going to block all of your emails from everyone that you're sending to. Because of this, it's more important than ever to use multiple domains, targeted email lists, and personalized messaging to make sure that your emails stay out of spam. And if this sounds complicated, don't worry. We're going to cover everything you need to know to get your campaigns up and running so you're able to send hundreds or thousands of emails every single day without landing in spam. To do this, the software tools and websites that we're going to be using will be Namecheap.com for registering domains and emails, Smartlead.ai to warm your domains, manage all of your email addresses, and send out all of your email campaigns, Apollo.io to actually find the email addresses that you're going to be sending to, and optionally, you can use Slack so you can get notifications for every email response you get on your cold email campaigns. I've included a link to all the tools below, and yes, they are affiliate links, so we will receive a small commission if you do decide to make a purchase through them, but we'd really appreciate it, and it supports us so we can keep putting out free content like this and free content that we put in the newsletter. Now, the first step that we'll have to go through is buying, warming, and setting up your domain so that they're ready to send emails from. First off, the reason that we actually need multiple email domains is so that we avoid red flags and being put on the block list by major email providers. If we registered just one email account and started sending hundreds or thousands of emails from it, it would automatically be marked as a spam sender by big email providers like Gmail, Yahoo, and Outlook, and they'd start sending your emails directly to spam. So to avoid this, we need to send a low number of emails from multiple domains that have multiple email addresses. The number of domains and emails that you'll need will just depend on the amount of emails that you want to send every day. So this is just basically a math problem that you need to figure out. I recommend creating 2 email addresses for every domain that you register and sending a max of 35 emails from each address, which means that you're sending no more than 70 emails per domain per day. Now from there, you can basically just work backwards and understand how many domains you're going to need in order to send the amount of emails you want to send each day. So for example, let's say you want to send 700 emails every single day. You'll take 700 divided by 70, which equals 10. So in order to send out those 700 per day, you're going to need 10 domains with 2 email addresses each. Now let's jump over to the computer so we can actually walk through the process of buying and setting up your domains. I do want to warn you, this is the most tedious part of the whole process of cold emails, but it is required. So make sure you don't skip this. And once you have it all set up, you'll be good to start sending. Okay, so now that we're in the computer, the first thing that you're going to want to do is pull up Namecheap.com. Now, Namecheap.com is what we're going to be using to register our domains and set up our emails. You can feel free to use whatever domain register that you want. I personally recommend Namecheap.com because they're the cheapest that I've found, and they also offer their own email service, which has worked great for cold email so far, and it's easy to set up, especially once you buy the domains through Namecheap. So when we're actually going to buy our domains, you're going to want to search for domains that sound similar to your website. The reason for this is because so when someone gets your actual email, they may search your email or the domain that is being sent through to make sure that you're a legit business or check you out more. And we're going to redirect this domain to your actual website. So you want it to look very similar. So to make it look similar, you can add different words like how, get, find to the front of your actual website. So for example, for the follow-up, let's say jointhefollowup.com. If we're looking for new domains, we may use something like getthefollowup.com, usethefollowup.com, findthefollowup.com. Any of those sound natural enough that they would be good for a cold email domain. So for example, let's say we're buying one for the follow-up. We could do use the follow-up and go ahead and search. Now, when you actually are going to buy your domains, please buy a .com domain. I know that there's .org, there's .ai, .io, there's lots of new ones all the time. Please just stick to the tried and true .com. There's no reason to get one of those other ones. If the .com is taken, just switch up the words a little bit. But .com is the most trusted, and there's no reason why you should go ahead and get any of the other ones. So for example, if we're going to use thefollowup.com, I would add this to my cart, which I have already done, and then I'll go ahead and check out. Now, when you check out, it's going to hit you with all of these freebies. You do not need any of them. If they're free, go ahead, keep them if you want to. Make sure auto renew is off, and make sure that your domain auto renew is off. You can obviously keep it on if you want it to auto renew every year, but it'll send you notification emails when it's about to expire anyway. So I recommend just turning auto renew off. Once you are ready, you can go ahead and click confirm order. I'm not going to do that right now just because I already have a domain that I just bought that I'm going to use as an example for this. Okay, so now that you've purchased your domain, you're just going to jump over to the dashboard so we can manage the domain that you just bought. For this example, I have a domain sitting here called thefollowupleads.com. Okay, so now that we're here, the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually change the destination URL here. So you're going to want to make sure that you're redirecting this URL to your actual website so that if somebody searches for it, it's going to actually go to your website and not to a blank page. So for this example, I'm going to change this to jointhefollowup.com. So that way, if someone searches thefollowupleads.com, it's going to automatically redirect to my actual website. So now that we have the redirect set up, we're going to go ahead and set up the advanced DNS. Now, this is super important. This is basically going to tell all of the email providers that you do have a secure email account and that you are sending from a reputable website. So I actually have a domain email checklist here. I'll go ahead and put this in the description below, but this is just a checklist that you should follow all the way down. I'm going to go ahead and just walk through the entire thing. It does take a long time, but I use this checklist because it does make everything a lot easier. So we're going to be adding a bunch of different records here. As you can see, the URL redirect already got put in there, but the next one we're going to be adding is a INS record. The host is going to be Namecheap. This is going to be MX1 private email. This is setting up the email account. Now we're going to do the same exact thing again here with an INS record, Namecheap again, and then MX2. Now we're going to add email tracking. This isn't as important, but we might as well add it in here while we have this up. CNAME, and then we're going to go to email tracking, and our target here is going to be open.sledtrack.com. This is going to make it so that we can actually track our emails for opens and clicks. The next record we're going to add in here is actually for a DMARC. So this is going to be a text record underscore DMARC, all lowercase, and then the value is going to be, and I'm copying this from the checklist that I have. So V equals DMARC1, and then right here, you're going to want to change this to your actual email address. So we'll set this up later when we actually set up the email addresses. But if you already know what you're going to name your email address, you can set that up now. So for this example, I'm going to say Nick at use the follow up.com. So basically, you're going to get emails from DMARCs to this email address every single day, and basically it's going to send a report. So you just need to make sure that you have a valid email address in there. So whatever you're going to set up your cold email addresses as, use one of those. I already know I'm going to use Nick at usethefollowup.com, so that's what we're rolling with here. Next, we're going to add the SPF. So this is going to be a text record. Host is going to be at, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy this again from the cheat sheet, and that's what it's going to be. Okay, so it looks like we have all of that set up correctly. Like I've said a million times now, just go to the cheat sheet, walk through everything there, make sure this is set up correctly, or your emails will end up in spam and it's not going to work correctly. And now on to the fun part. So we just set up our advanced DNS. Now we're going to actually set up our cold email account addresses. So for this, you can go ahead and navigate over to email, and we're going to use business email. Now, as you can see, there's a few different options here. To start out with, all you need is the starter package here. So we're going to do 2 email addresses for each domain. I like to start out with the free trial because might as well use a free trial. So now that we have the free trial pulled up here, you can see that you can start with 1 mailbox for $0. You're going to want to add 1 mailbox to this so that it says 2 mailboxes, 74 cents a month, or $1.48 for the first 2 months. It then renews at $23.76 per year after that, but this is all that you need. So get the starter package, add a mailbox, and pay the 74 cents up front that you'll need to set up these 2 addresses. I'm going to go ahead and stick with 1 here because I'm just using this for an example. So we'll go ahead and click Get Started. For this, you're going to want to use a domain that you already own. Obviously, it'll be that domain that you just purchased right before this. You can go ahead and click on Use a Domain I Own with Namecheap. From here, we can see the followupleads.com. Go ahead and select Continue. And just like registering your domain, you don't need any of this stuff. Turn off auto renew unless you want it to renew at the end of 2 months. Since I'm just using this as an example, I'm going to turn off auto renew, and then, I'm going to take that domain out of my cart here. And then I'm going to go ahead and confirm the order. So we just purchased our email account. Now it's actually time, one more step, pay now, even though we're paying $0. But now that we've actually purchased our email account service, we're going to set up those email addresses and email accounts. Beautiful. So now we have our email accounts purchased. Now we're going to actually create the mailboxes. You're going to be creating 2, but in this, I'm just going to walk through how I'm going to set up 1 of them. So first thing, we're going to scroll down here and click on Create Mailbox. Mailbox name, I'm going to go with Nick at thefollowupleads.com and go ahead and make a password here. and they match, and I'm going to go ahead and save changes. Now, this is a good time to mention that when you're going through all of these, you're going to want to make sure you create a spreadsheet that has all of the email addresses as well as the passwords. So for example, I would just put, email password. Just want to make sure that you have this because you're going to have a bunch of email addresses under multiple domains. So you want to make sure that you have all the information. Now you can use the same password for each and every email. I actually recommend it because it makes it easy to remember. But for this, Nick at the followupleads.com and then password, because I ain't giving you guys that. Okay, so perfect. So now that we have this done, you're going to go to privateemail.com. And now we're going to actually set up that email address that we just created. So Nick at the followleads.com, and perfect. You can go ahead and save that if you'd like. But now we actually need to set up our profile. So skip the tour. Finish. We're going to come up to edit personal info, and you're going to want to make sure that you change the first name, Nick, last name, Conley. You can add your company here. So the follow up, and that looks good. You can go ahead and click to add a photo here, upload a photo. I'm not going to do that right now. Actually, here's a meme that I'll throw in there, but you'll want to actually put a headshot because this will make it more legit when it shows up in a email. Perfect. That kind of looks like me, right? Just kidding. Okay. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you actually send out an email to make sure that this email address is working. So you can go to Nick at jointhefollow.com. Hey, welcome. We'll go ahead and send that out. Open up my Gmail here and look at that. We have the email. So this is working now. We're all good to go here. I'm going to go ahead and reply to this if it ever lets me. Hey, now back here, it's going to take a second, likely. Beautiful. Okay, awesome. We're all set up here. So our email account is set up. We now have an email address that is ready to get plugged in to our sending software so we can start creating cold email campaigns. Now, I just set up one. Obviously, you'll have another address under your domain. So just redo these exact same steps. Make sure the first name's added, last name's added, and add a picture in here, and you are good to go. And now one last thing before we actually add our email addresses to Smartlead, I just wanted to come back to the dashboard, find the domain, and make sure that we have our DNS set up correctly now that we have our email address live. So I'm going to come over here to Advanced DNS, and you'll remember from before when we were adding all of the records, I just wanted to make sure that the text record for DMARC is set up correctly, and it looks like it's using Nick at usethefollowup.com, but we actually want it to be Nick at thefollowupleads.com. Check that off, and now we're all set to jump into Smartlead. Okay, so for this video, we'll be using Smartlead.ai. It's what I personally use for all of my cold email campaigns and the cold email campaigns we run for clients. It's what I recommend. You can obviously use other ones out there, but this has all the features you need and all the fancy stuff like email box rotations, warming, spin tax, everything that you'll need. Smartlead.ai is a great choice to use. So you'll obviously create an account from here. I'll go ahead and jump right into my dashboard. As you can see, I have a lot of emails set up here, but what we'll do here is actually add a new account. So we're going to add in a new email address. From here, we're just going to select SMTP, doing it the old-fashioned way. Obviously, if you're buying a lot of domains, you can use that first option and actually drag in an entire spreadsheet. But this is where you'll actually want to go back to that cheat sheet that I gave you. So the from name is going to be the first name that you used in your email address account. So when we went to privateemail.com and added your first name and last name, this is where you're going to use that. So Nick was the first name that I used. And then here is the actual email where we're going to put from email. Username is going to be your email again. And password is going to be the password that you used for your email address. Now, SMTP is going to be the next one, and we'll just put privateemail.com at the end of that. And you're going to want to make sure that you're on 465 SSL. Now, messages per day, warm-ups not included. Let's take this down to 35 because we just don't want to risk it that this email sends a ton of emails out and gets flagged for spam. So keep that to 35 there. Next, we're going to IMAP. This is also going to be privatemail.com. Make sure that's 993 SSL. And this is where you're going to add your signature. So for this one, I might say my first name, Nick Conley, and then I could say something like writer at the follow up. This is going to be at the bottom of every email. You can put a link to your website in here. That can sometimes mess with delivery rates. So if you really want to blast out a lot of emails and make sure the majority of your emails are landing in the primary email box, you can keep that as just normal text and not add a link there. BCC to CRM. So if you are using a CRM, you can put in the BCC there. I don't have that right now. The use a custom tracking domain. This, I have it that I'm going to copy over here as well. That's going to be emailtracking.domain.com. Let's go ahead and check the status because we already did. Okay, looks like it's not totally set up yet. We can go ahead and set that up later. That's not a big deal. Tags doesn't matter. If you're running this for a client, you can add them here, but we're going to go ahead and click save here. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. I'm not going to use a custom tracking domain right now. That's okay. Beautiful. And we are all set up now. So this email is actually set up and ready to go, but here's the catch. All of these emails need to be warmed up. Do not skip the warm-up phase. Essentially, warming up is that it's going to start sending a little bit of emails and then a little bit more and a little bit more until it's sending, 30 to 50 emails a day to other users of Smartlead. So it's basically going to warm up these domains so it doesn't look like you just registered a brand new domain and now you're blasting out a bunch. This is essential, and it's one of the best features of these cold email softwares. You're going to go into warm up here, and you're going to say enable warm up. Your email will start receiving warm up emails. That's fine. It's basically going to use other email accounts that are also hooked up to smartlead.ai and send emails back and forth so they look like legit emails. Now, do not skip this step. This is going to take about 2 weeks to actually warm up. But if you try to start sending emails before your email inbox is completely warmed up, you're likely going to get flagged as spam and you're going to ruin the reputation of your email address. So I'll say it one last time. Do not skip the warm-up phase. Turn it on and let it run until the 2 weeks are up. Now, if you go back to overview here, this is going to give you your dashboard of your email address. Once the email warm-ups start sending, you'll be able to see how many were sent, replied to, if any went to spam and they saved them. And it's also going to give you an outbound status. So right now, you're at 0%. This will give you a percentage of how close you are to being ready for outbound. Obviously, wait till it's 100%, but it's going to take about 14 days. Okay, so now that we have our email plugged into smartlead.ai and it's warming up, it'll be ready in 2 weeks. Now we need to work on finding our emails that we're going to reach out to, and then we'll go ahead and create our sequence. So finding emails is really an art. There's so many different data providers and scrapers out there. Everyone does it differently or uses a different provider. If you're a brand new beginner, I recommend just getting started with apollo.io. There'll be a link below for it. It's super easy to use, and you can use the free plan to begin with. Now, if you do want to start exporting a lot more, you will need to upgrade. But just off the bat, you can totally use their free version to start grabbing some email addresses. So when you actually sign up for an account, you'll be able to come into Prospect and Enrich and search for prospects. So let's go ahead and assume you're trying to reach the VP of marketing at companies that are 1 to 10 employees. So for this, you'll go ahead and find, first we'll start with the employees so that we narrow it down to 1 through 10. That leaves us with 19.7 million contacts. Now, obviously, we need to use a lot more filters to drive this down. Now, let's go to job titles. Let's go ahead and say VP of Marketing. Now, as you can see, it pulled up a bunch of prospects. In this example, see it pulled up President of Marketing, President Marketing, President of Marketing. I asked for VP of Marketing. So this is where you can use a bunch of different filters to try to narrow this down. So you can say is not any of, and that's when we could, let's say, put President of Marketing. So this will take out all of the prospects that have the title of President of Marketing. So hopefully we can drill a little bit closer down to VP of Marketing. As you can see, it still gives us a bunch of President Marketing. So we're going to go ahead and you have to be super specific about this and say President Marketing. Okay. I think that you probably get the point here. We got rid of most of them. Next, we could put in marketing president to get rid of those. But now we have a few VP of marketing. So I'll go ahead and just use these as examples. I'll go ahead and just select 4 here. Now, there's tons of things you can do with Apollo. They have a bunch of videos that you can go through for tutorials. So I won't get too far into it, but just wanted to show that this is an easy way to go collect emails. And then we're going to go ahead and export these. You're going to want to export as a CSV. And now the CSV is actually going to be uploaded directly to Smartlead to start our campaign. So from here, we'll go ahead and click download. Now we have those. And now we're going to head back to Smartlead where we can create our first campaign with our sequence and actually get this going. Okay, now you officially have your leads list that we just grabbed from Apollo. We're going to pretend like your email address has already been warming up for the last 2 weeks and it's now ready for outbound. Now it's finally time to create your first cold email campaign. So when you're in Smartlead on the email campaign view, you're going to want to click on Add Campaign here in the upper right-hand corner. From here, you're going to upload that CSV file we just grabbed from Apollo. You're going to get this pop-up about import settings. The first one here is import leads, even if they're on the global block list. For this, I like to leave it unchecked because if they're on the global block list, we probably don't want to import them into our campaign. And then the last one here, ignore the leads that exist in another campaign. So if a lead is already a part of another campaign, you can select this so you don't add it to this one as well. This is super helpful if you're running a budget campaign, scraping leads from all over the place, and just want to make sure that you're not adding the same lead to multiple campaigns. We're going to click save there. And then this is where you're going to map out your custom fields. Now, custom fields are awesome because they can be used to write your cold emails. So this is, for example, when you write, hi, insert first name, saw that your company is based out of insert city. This is where this comes in. And this is why it's super important to map these correctly. So you can go through and map as many as you want to. For example, title is here. And as you'll notice, title actually isn't a label in this dropdown, but you can just hit custom field and that will be imported as a title field. Next, we'll go down here. Obviously, you want to make sure that email is brought in here as a field. The most important part is obviously grabbing their email address. And then just for an example, I will import the city field as a custom field so that we can use that when we're actually writing a cold email as an example. So now we're actually going to move into writing a cold email. As you can see, our 4 leads got added here, so we're good to go. After we've actually walked through this entire campaign setup, I'll also be including a quick walkthrough on writing cold emails and just the do's and don'ts. But for this, I'll just write something super simple, show you how this works, and we won't actually write real copy. Don't use this copy that I'm about to show you. So for example, we'll say, hi, insert first name, because we mapped that field. Hi, insert first name, saw your company is located in insert city, and I'll just add my name here. Obviously, this is terrible copy. doesn't make any sense, but I'm just going to use this as an example. And then if we want to set the next step of the campaign, you can click on email here. You can see you can wait as many days as you want. So let's say they didn't respond to that first email. You want it to wait 3 days. And then if you leave this subject completely blank, it's actually going to respond the little RE to that last email. So that could be super helpful. It's basically sending in the same email sequence like, hey, wanted to bump this up. Don't use this because I hate when people use the wanted to bump this up in your inbox, but just using this as an example. Next, the other feature in here that is awesome is that you can bump out this, basically a Hemingway editor that exists right in the tool. As you can see, it'll give you your word count. It'll give you all of these measurements. So if one of your sentences is hard to read, it'll say like, hey, this one's hard to read. You probably want to try to fix it. And basically, it's the Hemingway editor that's awesome for writing cold emails and really any type of copywriting. And it's built right into this tool. Okay, so now that your email sequence is all set up, it's time to set up the sender accounts and schedule the actual campaign. So for this, you're going to want to choose the domains that you've set up for this email campaign. So for example, for this one, we set up the nick@thefollowupleads.com. So we'll use that. Obviously, I'll say it again, you want to make sure that these already went through the entire 2-week warm-up process. As you can see, the reputation right here basically tells you if it's so anything below 100% means that some of the emails were landing in spam and they found them in spam. So obviously you want your reputations to be as close to 100% as possible. Anything under 93, I probably wouldn't use, but aim to have these all at 100% and fully warmed up. So we'll save that email account. Obviously, when you have multiple email domains there, you'll go through the list and select all of the different emails you have set up. And then next is the schedule campaign. So you're going to want to use whatever time zone you want. For me, I'm in Eastern time, so I'm going to use the New York one. From here, this is set up to only send on weekdays or business days. Some people like to, take out Friday. Like if you don't have a lot of email responses on Fridays, you probably don't want this to send on the weekends. Although depending on the industry you're trying to target, they may be more likely to read an email that you send on Sunday or something like that. Next, 9 to 5, you can set these hours to whatever you want. 9 to 5, I think, is good. And then set campaign start date. I will set it for next Monday. And then max number of leads you want to reach out per day per this campaign. You can set this to anywhere. I usually like to set it at about 250. Now, there's also the caps that we put on our email accounts to only send 35 emails per day per account. So this doesn't matter that much because if your emails are already tapped out on the number of emails that they can send per day, even if you tell it, send 250 a day, but you only have 2 emails that can send a total of 70 a day, it'll only reach 70 a day. It's not going to push more to those email accounts when they're already capped at 35. So we can go ahead and click save and go on to the final review here. So in this final review, we can see that obviously it put in the first name here. You can go to the email to. You can see that it's responding there. You just want to make sure that all of your fields are mapped correctly. And actually, I can see in this that saw your company is located in undefined. So that means that custom field that I'm using right here is not working. So let's go ahead and fix that. City, change this to your, and then make sure you save the changes every time. And then we'll go back to final review. And now we can see that it's inserting that saw you're located in St. Louis. It's actually using that custom field. So now the email campaign is officially ready to launch. So you can schedule your campaign and this will now be scheduled to send out for whatever date you told it. Congratulations, you finally launched your first cold email campaign and now you can watch all of the opportunities and calls and customers start rolling in. Next, we will just jump into how you can set up your actual email copywriting, walk through some do's and don'ts, because obviously that is one of the most important aspects of cold emails is the messaging and setting up your cold emails to actually speak to your customers. It's sort of an art. You're always going to have to be experimenting with different offers and ways of pitching things and asking for calls or different lead magnets and things like that. But let's go ahead and jump into that. So now it has officially come time to write out your cold emails for your cold email sequences. Now, before you actually start setting up your Smartlead campaign, I always recommend to open up a Microsoft Word doc or a Google Doc like this so you can lay out your entire campaign and all of your email copy. That way, when you actually go into Smartlead to set up the campaign, you can just copy and paste and you don't have to worry about writing it there on the spot. So when you actually set up your cold email campaigns or you're writing them out, I always recommend setting them up like I have here, 1A, 1B, 2, 3A, 3B. Obviously, you can change these up, but these are going to be the subject lines for each one of your emails. And the reason that I have 1A and 1B is because Smartlead actually allows you to run different A/B tests on your subject line. So for example, if you sent the first email with 2 different subject lines, you'll be able to see which one performs better. So you'll get back the results on which one had a better open rate and which one had a better response rate. So that's super important, and that's an awesome feature that I would highly recommend taking advantage of. For 2, I actually don't have a subject line here. A lot of the time I'll use the second email as just a response to the first one. So that's why I don't have A or B here. Obviously, if you want to send a separate email, not a response email, you can obviously do 2A and 2B. And then for 3A, 3B, as you can see, right? So this is basically just showing that through your whole entire email sequence, you can use 2 different subject lines to see which one is going to perform the best. And then I just recommend doing, 1, 2, 3, 4, your whole sequence down. A lot of my sequences end up being, 8 to 12 touches, sometimes 6 to 8, just depending on the client and what the offer is. So next we'll actually get into writing your cold email. So this is definitely an art and a science. There's no right or wrong way to really do this. It's really about, trying things out, experimenting, seeing what works. But one framework I really like to use is the AIDA framework, which is basically A stands for attention, I stands for interest, D stands for desire, and A stands for action. This is a copywriting framework that a lot of people use. So we're grabbing their attention, we're making sure that they're interested, we're giving them a desire for whatever we have or we're selling, and then we're asking them to take action. So in the form of a cold email, your attention is going to be your subject line, and then your body of the cold email is going to be your interest and desire, and then at the end, your call to action is going to be asking them to actually take an action. So we can actually walk through, what this might look like in a cold email. Now, when it comes to the format, there's really no real right or wrong way to do it. Every person's going to have their own preference or things that they like to use or different things they like to play around with. A common layout you can see a lot of the time is you have your subject line, you have your personalized first line, you have your offer or what you do or what you can do for them, and then your call to action at the end. So if we walk through an example here, first we'll start out with your subject line. So your subject line is something that needs to grab their attention. Now, a lot of the people, when they start to write a cold email, they start to just sound salesy or marketing, and that's what you don't want to happen, right? So you want your subject line to almost feel like it's something that one of their colleagues or teammates or employees could have sent over to them. So for example, let's say that you sell an outsourced bookkeeping service for small businesses. So if you wrote something like, "Let us help you with your bookkeeping," right? They automatically know that's a sales email, that's a cold email, and they're opening it with the frame of this person's trying to sell me something. Now, on the other side, if we instead made that subject line something like bookkeeping question, that's something that one of their employees could probably send over to them, right? Like, quick question, bookkeeping question about this. That's something that sounds like one of their employees or their teammates might have sent them over, and they're automatically going to think, hey, I need to open this up because this is something that's important for me to read. So really, when it comes to subject lines, keep it short and keep it natural sounding. So for this example, we'll say bookkeeping question, and then for B, let's just try out, quick bookkeeping question. So that's what we'll run with for our first email. We have 2 different subject lines there that we'll A/B test. Now, next is going to be the first personalized line. So the goal of this line is to make it sound like you're reaching out to specifically them for a specific reason, right? So you did the research, you found them, and there's a reason why you're reaching out to them. So personalized lines, a lot of the time, you can use those custom fields that we mapped into Smartlead. But for example, we could say something like, if we're using the bookkeeping question, we could say, hey, insert first name. I saw you're hiring for a bookkeeper and figured financial planning for 2024 is top of mind. So this may be an example. Let's say we scraped a bunch of leads that are currently hiring for bookkeepers right now. That likely means that, they're looking for a bookkeeper because they don't have one, or it's top of mind, or it's a pain point for them right now. So this would let them know, hey, look, I looked into your company. I saw you're actually hiring for a bookkeeper right now, and that's the reason that I'm reaching out right now. Now, the second part is going to be your email body copy, or basically building that interest and desire. So this is where you're going to actually let them know, here's what we do, and I'm reaching out because we want to do this for you, right? So obviously when they're reading this, they're going to say, why is this person reaching out? What can they do for me? This is where we're going to answer that question. So in this portion of it, let's say that we're reaching out to a tire shop or someone like that. So we could say, hey, we work with 50 other tire shops to help them with their bookkeeping at a quarter of the price of hiring an internal bookkeeper. Now, I'd play around with this a little bit. That doesn't sound super natural. So obviously the shorter the better. You want it to sound like you're reaching out to them specifically. And in this case, let's say that we had their industry as a mapped field. We could say, we're working with 50 other companies in the insert their industry to help them with their bookkeeping, right? So that would sound more personalized, like, hey, we're reaching out to you because we work with others in your industry to help them do this. Now, last part of your cold email here is going to be the actual call to action. So this is what you want from them and you're requesting that they take action on, right? So this can be whatever your actual action that you want from them, whether that be a scheduled call, you want to schedule them on a demo, or if you just want to be able to send over more information. Writing this call to action is going to have a lot to do with your actual offer. And when you're writing your call to action, really think about the effort they have to put in, right? So the less effort needed from their end, you're going to get better results. So for example, if I say, hey, let me send over a 2-minute video, or hey, is it okay if I send over a 2-minute video? That's going to get a lot better responses than, hey, are you available for an hour-long demonstration so I can walk you through what we can do for you, right? That's going to take a lot of effort from their end. They're going to have to give up an hour of their time. They don't want to do that. A 2-minute video that you customize for them so they can take 2 minutes of their time, watch it, and figure out if it's worth their time, that's going to get a much better response in most cases. So in this case, we can say, is it okay if I send over a 2-minute custom video on how we can help? Now, I'd customize that a little bit more to your exact offering. If it's bookkeeping, hey, is it cool if I send over a quick custom 2-minute video walking you through our bookkeeping services and how they can be used at insert their company, something like that. So this is a basic email. I would chop this up a little bit, but this is the basic idea and a format that you can use. And when you're actually, writing out your cold emails, just know that you can try out any format you like, right? This is, 3 different paragraphs or 3 different sentences, but just keep in mind, you can always be experimenting with whatever you want, right? So we have a client that their first email is just 1 sentence asking a question, right? And then under that, they actually have a PS that says, hey, PS, the reason that I'm asking this is because we do this. Is it okay if we do this? That's not something that would normally be touted as, the correct cold email format, but it works really well and it's getting really good responses, right? So just constantly just testing and trying new things and experimenting. I know I've said this a lot, but it really is an art and a science into writing cold emails. And like always, if you do want this done for you, we do have super experienced cold email copywriters on our team, and we can take care of the entire process for you, from creating the campaigns, writing your email copy, and making sure that you have calls and demos booked on your calendar on autopilot. So thanks for watching this, and we will get on to the next video where we're going to walk through actually how to manage your cold email inboxes. All right, now we've finally made it. Your cold email campaigns are launched, and ideally you should now be receiving the responses to your cold emails. Either people reaching out and saying, hey, not interested, but thanks for reaching out, or hopefully people are going to reach out and say, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to learn more. Let's jump on a call. So this is your master inbox. This is where all of the email replies are going to be coming to, and this is where you're going to be responding to all of the emails. Once they come in, it's usually important that you want to mark them as either not interested, wrong person, or interested, so you can later come back and sort those and filter them to find all the interested, to make sure that you're always following up after they requested information or agreed to a call. The last thing I do want to touch on here is a feature that I really, really like, and that's the ability to send your reply notifications to your Slack channel. So if you're like me and you use Slack for a lot of doing business and communicating with teammates or employees, you can set up Slack to actually get all of or send you a notification every time you get a reply on one of your cold email campaigns. So you're just going to want to name the webhook right here. So let's just say cold email masterclass demo. And then the webhook URL, you're actually going to have to create a webhook URL for your Slack right here. So you'll go in here, make sure that it is on the correct channel. This is very important. If you're a part of multiple Slack channels, it'll pop up just a random one here. So let's wait for this to load so that I can actually load my Slack channel. Perfect. So I'll just change it over to the follow-up. Now that it's loaded, you're going to come down here and choose a channel that you want to send the notifications to. If you don't have a channel already set up for this, you can just add a new channel. For this, I'm just going to select a random one here, newsletter sponsor replies, and then I'm going to add the incoming webhook integration. This is going to give you the webhook URL. You're going to want to copy that, come back to Smartlead, add that right there. This is where you're going to choose the event type. So I like to go email reply. So anytime someone replies to one of your emails, it'll send a notification, actually send the message in Slack. And then you need to select the campaign. So I have that campaign we just set up as untitled campaign. Obviously, you'll want to go back and change the name of it to whatever naming scheme that you want. But for this, it'll just be untitled campaign. We can click add. And now you're officially set up. So anytime you get an email reply, you'll get a notification in Slack. It'll tell you what they said. So let's say you're at the gym or you're away and you have Slack on your phone. You'll be able to see every time you get a reply to your cold email campaign, so that when you come back home, you make sure you reply as quick as possible. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about anything we walk through, feel free to reach out to me, nick@jointhefollowup.com. And as mentioned before, if you're looking for someone to take over your entire outbound strategy, including cold email campaigns, cold email management, and also cold callers on demand, feel free to reach out to me. We do offer a premium service to a limited number of clients to take care of your entire outbound strategy, so we can fill up your calendar with sales calls and generate new business for you on demand. So thanks for watching, and peace.